moving right along then, you're able to not only look at the content from the catalogue, you can search through the catalogue from the top of the page just here, but we can also explore the other full text materials that are a part of your subscription. Thinking about the books, thinking about the journals, which are also a part of the information that is inside of your subscription. On this screen, you can see the list of books. This list of books that you see here, plus the health libraries and other books, these are all available from inside of your catalogue. So maybe if you are interested in finding a particular book, you would do that through the catalogue. If you wanted, though, you could look at the list of books and also the list of journals that come from us, from the Ovid system, through the page just here. But your primary access to your books and journals is through the library catalogue. This will allow you to access into this content in a very active way. What we're also going to see in just a moment is that you have access not only to the books and journals through your library catalogue, but at least for the journals, all of these journals, plus many tens of thousands of open access journals, are also available through our databases. We actively link journal content into our databases so that you can benefit from that access. It makes it easy for you then to do precise searches and then link off to the full text in a very active way. Okay. So you can understand that all of these books, there are approximately 900. All of these journals, there are approximately 500 journals in your collection. These are all available through your library catalogue. We're moving back to the catalogue then, because I think that this is really, it's really a very important point to make sure that people understand that this is the place where you go to find the information that is useful. This is where we can find access to the books. This is where we can find access to the journals. This is where the things that we use for study and for evidence are all located. Through the page just here as well, we have access to other sorts of resources. We've seen the links, for example, to Bates Visual Guide, to Ackland, and to Visual DX as a part of our exploration today. On the screen on this side, we can see the access to Ovid Medline as a part of the listing through the page just there. Let me follow that link, and we're going to have a bit of a look at that resource from this page just here. I'm going to zoom in slightly so that this is clearer for you, and we're going to be able to explore and see the sorts of research that we can do with this research tool. Many of you will have used a version of the Medline database through another route. Many or most people know about PubMed as a resource. The PubMed interface is a very different interface to this one, and it places a very different emphasis on the content and the things that are inside the database. When we're looking at Medline All, which is what this database is, this is the same database. This is the same as PubMed, but just through a different route. The reason why this is different and interesting is that people don't find the PubMed interface very interactive. You go to it and you type something in, you get something out, and that's really the end. Here, this is an interface which is interactive. And so it really helps you to have that process of exploration that is a part of research. PubMed is not a research interface. It is just for single searches and for quick searches. When I look across this information here, you can see the Ovid interface. You can see up here that this is the search history that we see up here at the top of the page. Across the center of the screen, these are the different types of searches which are possible across the middle of the page. And then down at the bottom of the screen here, we can see the limits, the ways that the material can be filtered or narrowed down at the end of a search. What we also see here is across these options that we see here, these are different options which give you different sorts of search results. This very first search result that we see here is for basic search. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to type in a whole subject or question. Just like we did when we used the Ovid discovery tool, this is an option really to begin a searching process. We could be looking for example, we could be looking for treatment of weather-related migraine. So we can see it here, we can do a search, and what it does is it uses a lexicon. And that lexicon helps us to find the subjects that we are interested in. Using a lexicon is a really good thing because it helps us. It helps us to find things like synonyms. It helps us to find spelling variants. It helps us to find different sorts of subjects, which are subject groups. Health Library uses a lexicon as well in its basic type searching. Ovid Discovery AI does not use a lexicon. And that is really a big difference between what we saw at the beginning of the presentation and what we're seeing here. If I begin to look down at my results, what you can do is you can begin to see the results that are here, and we can begin to think about the question that we asked. We asked about treatment of weather-related migraine. So this is my question, and this is the information that the database found about that subject. When we ask a question, it looks through the material and it finds the words that are the subjects inside of that content. This is natural language searching that we are using here. That question mentioned weather. So when we see weather here, it's in yellow. We talked about migraine, so also yellow there. We talked about treatment. Treatment and therapy are probably very similar. But this is why it's blue. It doesn't just exactly match what I've typed in. It's extending that idea. It's using that lexicon. This is the effect of the lexicon that we see here. Headache is very much like migraine, so it's blue. But as we scroll up and down, we can begin to see the ways that it's matched that subject as we look down through the material through here. It's not just in this first display, though. If I open up another display about this particular database record, we can see these colors in another part, and we can really understand then why the software selected this particular set of records. Coming back here, if we look down now, we can begin to see our question, we can see our results, and we can also see the search terms that were used. We can see these through the page just here. One of the things that the software does is it takes the words that we use and it connects them to the words that the database uses. Anything that you see with that flag that's here is one of the subject terms in the database. These are the mesh terms or Medline subject headings. So you can see that it connects with migraine disorders, it connects with weather, it connects with disease management, which is that group of therapies. You can also see through the page here on the right-hand side that for many of these items, you have a little link that says full text. So it's not just a very quick way for you to do a reliable search. It's a really quick way for you to find some journal articles. And it doesn't just search across your subjects and your content. It also includes tens of thousands of open access journals. So you will find that this is a very reliable and rapid way of doing a search and finding access to full text. We can also see from up at the top of the page here, the options that we can use to narrow down that result. You can see here that we can limit to a range of years. So a beginning year, an end year, if I only wanted the most recent 10 years, this would be possible. Behind this button, where it says additional limits, you can also narrow down or limit a search. These filters also appear as a part of PubMed, but here we are seeing them as a separate list. This is about the population. So is this about female or male, men or women? Is this about humans, people? There are some options there. Is this about a particular age group? Often when we make a search, we think about whether this is about children, whether it's about adults. So you're able to pick out the age groups that you want to include. We can also think about the types of publications that we're interested in. So we can see here things like clinical trial. We can see things like meta-analysis or systematic review as a part of the list through here. And I can choose the types of publications that I want to include. Then, when we're through with that process, I can choose to limit my search to narrow down that result. So you can see from that first result, these are the ones that we have selected in that particular population. And we can see that listing there. Through the page here, what we can do is we can select the items that we're interested in. And then we can do something with them. We can print them. We can email them. We can export them. If we choose export, this is where we find access to EndNote and reference management tools. I think you guys use EndNote, yeah, or often. The other one that people often talk about is RIS. RIS is important because it is an interchange format, and all of the free reference management tools use the RIS format. So this is the one for Mendeley and for those free resources that are possible. I love reference management tools. What we also have as a new option is that we have some custom options. This is where you can make a custom export. So you can say where you want to put it, and you can add in your own fields, and you can change the order and then export. So that is a possibility to make your own list of exports, particularly for something like an Excel spreadsheet. That is really, really useful. So we've had a little bit of a look at the way that we can do a simple search with basic search, and the way that we can use a limit to narrow down a result. Across the top of the page here, we can also do other types of searches. The most commonly used other format is advanced search. People use basic search maybe if they've never done a database search before, because it is a very easy route to begin. And what it does is it gives you some ideas about how to make that search better. People use advanced search because this is a research tool and it's very interactive. This is really the reason why people come here to use this option. When we use advanced search, we don't just type in the whole subject or the whole question, we type in the individual parts. So we might type in weather, for example, and we can choose search, and then it will make a suggestion. It will say, these are the subjects that are associated with weather. We can look at the definition, tells us what it means. We can also look at the structure of the database that surrounds that subject, weather. Here it is. It's a phenomenon. It's weather. And if you notice here, there is a little step. This tells us that these are types of weather that we see through the page here. If I wanted to search across all of the types of weather, I could use this option, and it would include all of that. But you have to ask yourself, do I want all of those? What we can do is we can look through the listing here. We can say, yeah, I want wind. I want air movement. I might want extreme weather, but not extreme cold. We don't get extreme cold here in Thailand. That's not going to help us. So we can begin to pick out the ones that really mean something for us. Definitely humidity, definitely rain, but not snow. Never get snow in Bangkok. We do get a lot of sunlight and a lot of temperature. So rather than just saying, I'm going to search everything, you can make it your own. You can choose the things that are really about you. And what we can see is we can see the numbers of records that are about that subject. Migraine. I don't get to type in the whole thing. I get to type in just the parts. Migraine is migraine disorders. So it's translated my words. It's saying this is a different way of experiencing that topic. We can look at a definition. We can explore that subject. Migraine is a disease. It's a nervous system disease. Here it is. It's migraine. And there are different types of migraine that are here. If we are an expert in this area, we could do the same thing. We could say, I want this one. I don't want that one. We could explore, or we could search across this as a group. The next page, this is about migraine, but also all of these items that are here are a part of that subject. And our search is about migraine treatment. So which ones of these are about treatment? This one, therapy, surgery, radiotherapy, this is all about treatment. So I can come through and I can pick out the ones that are about treatment. So that is migraine treatment. One thing that I can also tell you is that on this page, if we are teaching people about doing a search using PICO, that PICO method, then these are often outcomes. So diseases and problems are where we see things like diagnosis, etiology, outcomes like nursing. These sorts of options are all listed here. So coming back, you have weather, you have migraine therapy, and we're joining those together. And it gives us a very small but very precise result as we see it up through the page here. And you can see from that result that these are all about weather-related migraine that we see through the screen just here. Can I show you on the side of the page here that if I pull down this page just here, these are the most frequently encountered subjects that are a part of the result that we see on this side. It's definitely about migraine, but it takes it an extra step. It says, because these are very, very frequent, the ones that are towards the top of the page are the most frequently occurring. So the most frequently occurring treatment is analgesics. So you can see that as a connection with the other subjects that we see as a part of the page just here. We now have a different type of tool which is available which will also help you with that process of selecting a subject. It's called Term Finder. Let me show you a different example so you can see how this works. I want to use hypnosis as a way of dealing with dental pain. So when I type in hypnosis, it gives me a list of the subjects that are connected to hypnosis. We can see them up and down the page just here. Here it is. If I open that link, you can see that same sort of display. Here it is, it's hypnosis, and you can see that step. These are types of hypnosis. Suggestion is a type of hypnosis. And below that, there are other narrower terms. What I can do to begin my search is to select something, hypnosis, and I can choose my add to search options. We need explosion because there are narrower terms. We can add a keyword as well, and we can begin to add it to the search. You can see it here. One thing that we can do, though, which is additional, is we can add other subjects to this list. Through this page, in this used for terms list, these are additional subjects that may be of interest as well. And so it helps to build out your search, to add options to the screen that you see. We also see the scope note, definitions, subheadings. Those are the sorts of things that we see just there. But do you notice that it started off with a narrow search and it's broadened it out? So it's like a tool for preparing searches. I want to add to that subject. I want to look at dental pain. So I do my next search. What it's done is it's done that translation, and it said that dental pain is toothache. I can look at the subject list. Here it is. It's a type of facial pain, and it has some detail that we see through there, and we can begin to add it to our search. We can also explore the other subjects that we see here. Once we are through, we can choose the subjects that we want to include, and we can gather those together. So we can look at hypnosis, we can look at toothache or similar subjects, and we can put those two together. So that could be a way that you can see that we can use the term finder tool to make a larger search, a search that you could use in a more extensive way. So those are the two searching options that we see, which are generally used as a part of the Ovid system. If I untick this box, however, what we can see is we can see another option which is possible. This is the option of searching as a keyword. So thinking about dental pain, for example, as well as toothache. So either of those. And combining it with our hypnosis option. So there are many different ways of doing a search and finding a result, and we have explored a few of those during our exploration today. When we use the Medline database, whether we use basic search or advanced search, we are searching inside of subjects. These are the subjects that come to us from the database, from the author in the title and the abstract, and in the subjects inside the records. But there are other fields that may be used inside Medline. When we look at search fields, we can see some of those. Something like country of publication, something like institution, for example. This is where we could come, perhaps, to do a search about the publications that come from Thailand. So you're able to see now the sorts of numbers of results that could come from that place. We can also, if we think about the institution, we could think about Chulalongkorn as an institution. So this is how we could find publications from Thailand, publications from Chulalongkorn. And as I mentioned before, this is a database which is not just about America or Europe. This is about your local publishers and your local writers and authors, as we see it through this page just here. We have looked at doing some searches and finding some information, and we are thinking about what we can do with that search now, because if I want to, I can save that search, or I can create an alert, and it's going to keep me up to date with that subject as time passes. What we can also do from this side of the page is we can create a link that will complete that search. So this link will complete a search about this institution and show the publications that are newly added about that subject. You could also use that as a way of communicating with a remote student. If they were creating a search, this could be your method because it's interactive. It allows you each to rerun the search that you have created. Okay. What we've done then is we've had a short look at the way that you are able to use the Medline database in many different ways. And one thing that I would tell you about Medline is that this is a database that is constantly changing. This year, for example, we added all of the clinical trial registries to this database. So where we can see those is here. So this is the database clinicaltrials.gov. All of the records from clinicaltrials.gov and any new records are going to be added into Medline and also into Embase. And the important part about these new records is that these are not only for published clinical trials, they are for unpublished clinical trials. And the important part about unpublished clinical trials is that they were not in Medline before. Before, you only had clinical trials which appeared in journals. These are new entries that we're seeing here. The reason why this is important is that not all completed trials are published. Maybe the clinical trial is about treatment A and treatment B, and they didn't find any difference. The effect is the same. But later on, they may find that there is an advantage to using treatment B. They would still be able to find it. And so that is an important part. And you wouldn't be able to if it was unpublished. So unpublished or incomplete trials are now a part of the Medline database and also of Embase. And they join really important materials like the preprints, for example, which are yet to be published. This is early announcements of publications. Okay. We've had a quick look then at the way that we can navigate through Medline and the way that we can capture information as a part of searching this database. I now want to take you to a database that you do not yet have access to, I think, which is EBMR, or Evidence-Based Medicine Reviews.